Welcome, friends, to this meeting in South Barrington, which we are going to have this Barrington meeting. We are going to have, if possible, every month in future, so that we can renew our enthusiasm on this path. Every now and then, if we meet, have satsangs, it's always useful. And knowing what our minds are like, we stray off from the track so often that it is necessary for us to keep some kind of a trigger, some nudge in our side to bring us back on track. And these meetings serve that purpose. If we don't meet and our mind is not drawn towards this path regularly, it tries to float away into our daily activities, and very often we find that we are now not paying any attention at all to something that is so important as the spiritual path. The spiritual path is important because it does not deal with what we are facing in this world, in this life. It deals with our eternity. It deals with what will happen in the course of time throughout the rest of eternity, the rest of time itself. Therefore, our needs of this life are based upon the needs and requirements of this body. But the needs of our soul are not for this life only. They stretch way beyond. The Egyptians did a lot more for their afterlife care than they did for their life. And they thought, while we are human beings, when we have this unique experience of free will, that's the time to use that unique experience of free will to build our future, not only for this life, but for the time that there will be a life after death, the life that will be there eternally. So this life after death, which is eternal, is something that we cannot see here. When we are born in these bodies, we become closed in. We become almost captivated by this body as if this body is ourself and this life in the physical body alone is real life. And then when we die, everything finishes, which is not true. It is not true because we find that the soul, the power of consciousness, the power of awareness, the power to live, the real force, vital force, life force that comes into us has sometimes memories of things that happened before we were born. Sometimes it can see flashes of things that will happen which will be way after we die in this physical body. Through meditational experiences and sometimes by chance through strange experiences that come automatically, we discover that our soul is not bound to the same life term as this physical body is, that we have lived before and we will live hereafter, after this body is gone. Therefore, are we doing anything to prepare for the life that will be there after we die? If we are not preparing now, unfortunately, there may not be any time to prepare hereafter. The reason for that is that when we say we prepare for something, we are indeed depending upon our experience of free will, which we only have when we have a human body. We do not have free will, the power to determine which course to take, which option to adopt if we have many options, which choice to make. We do not have this opportunity except when we have a human life. We can have life in different forms. There are life forms that exist throughout this universe. The universal life forms recorded in some of the Indian scriptures are as huge a number as 8.4 million recorded human forms. More than half of them are in the plant kingdom and the kingdom of little things that grow inside the surface of the bottom of the ocean. These are life forms that we have sometimes not even been able to count. And therefore, a human being is a unique form of life. It is unique and is one special form of life out of the 8.4 million types of lives that we can have. The power of creating life, the power of being alive, is dependent on the same source. The power of consciousness that can make you have an experience, a conscious awareness of what is around you, what is the world around you, and this power of consciousness exists in all living forms. Even the trees and the plants outside, they have this power, though in a very diffused and subdued form. But they still have the same life. They grow like life forms. They become big, they die. They are born and they die, like all life forms. They are not static. They are not there only for some time in a static form. They are growing and becoming bigger or smaller or whatever their life form is. And this is a change that is taking place. This is only possible when there is this power of consciousness in some form in all these life forms. If you look at all these life forms, whether they are in the plant kingdom or they are in the kingdom of insects and small little living things, or in the form of mammals or birds, any form of life that you look at, they do not have the power of free will to discriminate between what is good, what is bad. They don't have a moral code. Only human beings have created a moral code and planted into our consciousness a certain part of the brain, certain part of the mind, which we call conscience. Conscience is something that distinguishes between the good and the bad. We have laid out a course for ourselves in which we distinguish between what is right and wrong, what is good and bad, and we make these choices. There is no other species in this universe that is making these moral choices. We are the only ones making it. And we laid it out for ourselves. There is no universal moral code at all. This moral code has changed with time and changed with territory throughout history. What was good at one time has become bad at another time. What was bad at one time has become good at another time. These are things we collectively, as a society, impose upon ourselves. We lay down as a social community, as a group, we lay down these different values, and then we make our life based upon a moral life of good and bad. When we do that, we get a choice, and we want to do good things, and then there is a certain part in our consciousness which wants to do bad things. It's amazing that we all have two parts in our head, two parts in our mind, one wanting to do good things and one wanting to do bad things because bad things seem to be more pleasurable. It looks like we enjoy sin more than virtue. And therefore, this fight between the good and the bad goes on in our life, creating intentions and actions following those intentions, which we ourselves classify as good and bad. Once we do that, with this immense power of free will to choose between options, once we do that, we set a pattern, like it is like a wave that we start, a wave of good and bads, and we create a storage of this good and bad in our own mind. We remember the bad and we say we are guilty. We remember the good, we feel happy and think we are going to get a reward for it. This whole notion of punishment and reward, which we impose upon ourselves, is arising from our experience of free will. If we did not have this free will, there would be no morality, and indeed there would be no law of karma itself. Karma itself will disappear if we did not have this choice-making capacity in us. We are creating not only good and bad karma, we are creating the very principle of karma. by creating a differential between our choices, and some we put as high, some we put as low, and therefore we create a whole cycle of action and reaction, and therefore we get tied down to having experiences based upon this principle. So therefore, once we come into this world and we have this kind of free will and we have an experience of it and we use it with our intention and action, we are storing enough material to keep on going in a wave motion, being rewarded for the good, being punished for the bad. And this goes on not only in the laws of the universe or the laws of this world that we set up, not in the moral laws that society sets up, not in the legal laws, where all are following the same principle. We also carry it beyond our life, thus laying the foundation of future lives based upon this differential, based upon what we have divided as good and bad actions, thereby creating a law of karma that seems to become the fundamental basis of any future life. If we had no law of karma created by ourselves, we could not have a future life. If we would just be content with one life, good adventure, we came here, we saw, we liked it, we disliked it, we go back home. If we would have gone back home way long ago, why are we here? We are here because we imposed on ourselves this law of karma, that there is something that you have to fulfill, as if there is a requirement. You do something which your conscience says is bad, you must be punished, even if you have to wait for it. If you have done something good, you are expecting a reward, and you must get the reward, no matter how long you have to wait for it. This expectation of punishment and reward built into us ensures that we will not die without their fulfillment, and we create the seed of a future life. And so on and so forth. Our mind is so active. It's a wonderful computer. It's the best I've ever seen. This wonderful mind of ours is so fast, does things so quickly, comes to new intentions and actions so fast that even before we can act with our body, the mind has already accumulated so many intentions to act. And each one of those intentions creates a karma, good or bad. We have a good intention, we create a good karma. A bad intention, bad karma. Nobody can see it because nothing has happened in our body. We're just thinking about it in our head. And we have laid the foundation of future lives. Therefore, we accumulate so much of it that it's impossible to create any kind of life that will fulfill all this. We create so much karma in one lifetime that we need millions of years to totally fulfill all the intentions, good and bad, that we put into our head in one lifetime. Therefore, we spend life in different forms. We spend life in the forms of trees and plants, form of insects and rodents and animals, fish and fowl, and as mammals, and as angels, and as higher beings, depending upon how good our intentions were. In the list of 8.4 million species, they have included disembodied spirits who live amongst us, disembodied spirits who are angels living in the astral plane. They are included in that list. And those are also participating in the same law of karma. You can do very good deeds, be totally good intentioned in a whole life. Think nothing bad. You can be ruler of one of the heavens in the astral plane, right from the physical body. Those forms of life are included in the list. Therefore, we roam around in a whole cycle of several types of forms of life, just because of the large number of intentions and action that we accumulate in one life. It's a very basis of generating new lives. And therefore, when we create so much karma, unmanageable karma, which cannot be accommodated in one human life at all, what happens to the rest of it unless we go into other life forms? it gets stored in a big storage. There's a huge storage bank where the unaccounted for, the unfulfilled karma is stored. That reservoir, we call it the Sinchit karma, the reserve karma. We have accumulated so much. If you during meditation want to go and have a peep at your own reservoir of accumulated karma, you'll be shocked. Each one of us will be shocked. We have created enough karma to stay here forever. It's almost like ever, because by the time we try to pay off our karma, we create more at the same time. Somebody can say, I want to live a karma-less life. Of course, you can't live that. How will you be born in the first instance? Where will you be born? Who will be your parents? How do you determine that? All these things which give rise to birth are based upon previous karma. How can you choose any parents? How can you choose a location for birth? You have no choice in these matters at all. And this is all just a force of karma that is bringing you into these. Therefore, the very basis of life, any form of life, human life included, is some karma that comes and creates the life for us. That karma includes who were the people with whom we had karma in the past. They become our parents. They become our siblings. They become our relatives. Where did we have most of our past karma? That becomes our location of birth, our location of work, our location of travel, and everything, every place we will move in the world. Who are these people with whom we had good and bad times? They will return. Those with whom we were good will reward us. Those we were bad will punish us. And we will wonder how these things are happening because we do not remember our past life. This is a great, wonderful thing about this reincarnation into another life from past life karma, that we do not remember the past life karma. If we remembered that, we could stop this whole action of reincarnation by saying, that was what I did bad, I am not going to do that. That's what I did good. Maybe even that was not good because I have to come for rewards. I am going to go with the flow, as they say. The true way of not creating any karma is go with the flow. That means wherever you are, drift along with the circumstances. Take your cues for action on these coincidences that are happening around you, and do not allow the mind to get into choice making. One can't do that. It needs a very strong mind and very strong willpower to do it. But theoretically it's possible that a person can say, I am so strong in my will not to create karma that I will go with the flow of circumstances. Just drift along with life as it comes, no matter where I am. Whatever the cues around me are, whatever the indications are, which way to move, I'll go with the flow. That's what is meant by the flow. And we can avoid all karma. But this does not happen if we have no knowledge of what is creating our current events in life. Since we have forgotten what happened in the past, we start this life as if it is all new. In fact, the whole basis of our feeling we have free will is based upon the forgetfulness of past lives. If you remembered past lives, you would see that what's happening, what you call free will, is also predetermined by your old actions. We do not remember those actions, and the new decisions we make look like we are now making a decision afresh. And that is why, if we could remember past lives, things would be totally different than what they are in our lives today. Is it good to remember past lives, or is it bad? Depending upon how much we have trained our mind, we can make it good or bad. If we have trained our mind not to be affected by what we did or what we did not do, and take it as a series of events which have to play out, then it's good to know the whole thing. Good to have knowledge and awareness of the whole thing, and then you manipulate with your mind that you will not get into any of the situations that have created your past life. But if you have the kind of mind we all have, which is built into it conditions in which we react very quickly without thinking, we have built reflexes in us that we have to react in a certain way with anger, with resentment, with dismay, with depression. When we have built these reactions into ourselves, it's terrible to have any knowledge of a past life. Because then when we find we did some things which were not good, we'll have more guilt than we ever had before. We will add to our guilt and thereby add to the suffering that we have. We'll add to the suffering with knowledge of the past. Therefore, in our case, where we are all trapped in a mind considering this life to be a single life of adventure or experience, it is better not to know past lives. And therefore, nature itself has provided this safeguard that when we are born here, we do not remember our past lives. We do remember some part of it. Which part do we remember? We remember the part which was a lesson from the previous acts. For example, in a previous life, we set fire to a house and our hand got burnt. Now we don't remember what happened, but we are afraid to go any near fire. Why? What is making us, without having any knowledge that the fire will burn us, we are still afraid? Where are these complexes coming from that we are avoiding certain things and we are pursuing certain things without any trigger in this life? The triggers were in the past life, but without remembering the events of past life, we still remember the lessons of past life. In a way, that means this life, knowingly or unknowingly, is creating a lesson for us, a continuous learning process that we keep on learning. We remember the lessons, but we don't remember the events that gave us those lessons. It's a good combination. It's a good combination to keep us advancing and yet not go to those reflexes and reactions which we would have if we remember the events. So that's why what has been set up by nature is actually quite perfect. That with our minds as they are, we should not remember past lives. If we have developed our awareness to the extent that with our free will we control it and we can control our reactions, we get to know our past lives gradually and even more depending upon how much control we have over our reactions. Now here comes a different subject altogether related to all this. If we are in this big mess of karma created by us, if we are in this big mess of having to make decisions in this life based upon what we think is good and bad, and sometimes what is more pleasurable and what is more painful, when we make these decisions here, and we are creating a net for ourselves to be trapped in again and again, is there a way out? That's the fundamental question. We are assembled here to find answer to that question. Is there a way out? Of course there is a way out. If we were souls, units of consciousness, if our origin is the totality of consciousness, if we have originated from the land of the Creator, from where all creation came, if that premise is true, that our souls are immortal and are participating in this experience temporarily, and we really belong there, and our true home is there, if that premise is correct, then surely we can find a solution to all the problems here by finding our way back home. To find our way back home, we can trace some elements that exist in us which are still connected to our home. Is there something here that we are experiencing in this life, in this world, which is still connecting us with our true home from where we came? That's the big thing we can discover. Now, it is obvious that if we have to discover something about our true self and not about our body. Something about our real true self, about the power of consciousness and life itself, and not about our sensory perceptions of this world. If we have to go even beyond and find our true self, not what we are thinking about, but beyond thoughts, what makes the mind enabled to think, if we have to go to that level, then we must look for something that is our true self. Now, our true self is obviously that which is creating a life for us at all levels. It must be something that has the power to make the mind think. Otherwise, the mind would be an entity by itself. But if it is our mind, if we are using our mind to think, then there must be something that is empowering it to think. What is the power that can make a mind think? What is the power that can make our sense perceptions perceive this universe? What is the power that can make us have an awareness of a physical body that moves around as a self? These are fundamental questions if we want to see if there is still a link, as of now, right while we sit here, between us sitting here and our true home from where we originated as consciousness, as souls. The answer can come if we start a pursuit of our true self. When we try to pursue where is our true self? Obviously, the true self is the one that is empowering this body to start with. It's empowering our perceptions, sense perceptions. It is empowering our mind. And it empowers some other things in us which are neither mental nor perception nor body. And those things are such as the experience of love. It's not mental. Nobody has ever fallen in love out of the mind by thinking about it. I have seen a lot of people who have gone out of love, out of thinking, but never met somebody who says, I thought and fell in love. Thinking has never created love. Perception has never created love. Body has never created love. It can create biological things. It does not create the experience of love. The experience where you can forget yourself for a moment with so much absorption of your attention on the beloved. Tell me, what else can do that? In this world, when we look around and act on this world, we are constantly aware of I am doing this. I am doing this. The ego, which is a phase of the thinking process. The thinking mind tells us there is an I, and the I must assert itself to do anything. You cannot take any action without bringing I into it. You cannot pursue anything without I coming into it, and the I is always following your mind. Then, if you want to pursue the I, then you are always caught up in the mind. It's a thinking process. The I, the ego, the I-ness, the one that separates from everybody. Have you noticed that? When you say I, you're instantly separated from everybody else. All are they or you. You and they separate you the moment you utter the word I. I leads to separation. What does love do? Does love do that? Love joins. Love makes you forget the I, even for a moment. The beloved can occupy your consciousness in the mind to an extent that for that moment the I is not there. I have tried to figure out how many things there are, how many experiences in human life there are which make you forget the ego. I could find nothing else except the power of love. The power of love is the one that does not come from the mind, does not come from sensory perceptions, does not come from this physical body. It comes directly from our self, our soul. One good indication. At least we know there are some things happening right here while we are in the physical body which are connected directly with our soul, with our self, and bypass. And those experiences bypass the body, the senses, and the mind. Love is not the only experience that we have which bypasses these. We have the experience of intuitive knowing, intuitive knowledge. Intuition which gives us a knowledge a knowing awareness with no thought. It just comes. It comes so suddenly. It does not follow any laws of time or duration or space. We just know. It's a gut feeling. What is a gut feeling? What is that instantaneous knowledge? It cannot come from thinking because there is no thought involved. It is coming directly from our soul, from our self, which is hidden behind these, the mind, the senses, and the body. And then another thing, real joy and bliss and beauty, the appreciation that we have of these things, where does that come from? It does not come from the mind. We think sometimes that when we are appreciating a work of art, that when we are looking at a painting, we look at the painting and we're impressed. Something is giving us a joy inside at the beauty of that painting, and we think it's coming because of the colors of the painting, of the form of the painting. It's not. Because if you start employing your mind and look at every inch square of that painting, the whole experience will disappear. It is like you have a nice painting, you cut it into little pieces, put them, heap them on a table, and then you look at each piece any number of times, you'll never see the painting, never have that feeling. We look out of a window in the morning and say, what a beautiful day. Where does that come from? Is there a mental thought involved in that? Not at all. There are certain functions that are being performed while we are in a physical body by all parts of consciousness, including pure consciousness, which we call the soul, which empowers the mind to think and rationalize, and which empowers the senses to perceive and put things together by splitting knowledge of things, knowledge of the world, into seeing, touching, tasting, smelling separately. It puts them into separation, and we put them together to have an experience. It puts all this into our physical body and makes us believe this is all happening because we have eyes to see, we have ears to hear, and we have these other sense perceptions fixed on the body. Therefore, we are having experience of the world. It's a wonderful arrangement to so push the inner power out so that we can create a body, and with the body create a whole world. Now people are really questioning whether this body creates the world, or the world is there, the body has just come to experience it. It's quite possible that the world was there. We know 14.3 billion years this universe came into being, as we know it. And this planet came to us about 4 billion years ago. We calculated it because we observed in the existing outside world that it is expanding at a certain rate. Of course, scientists have differed from time to time at the rate of expansion, but they do believe, all of them, the world is expanding. So applying a mathematical formula to go reverse, if it's expanding, let us contract it at the same rate at which it's expanding. And when you contract it, you go back to 14.3 billion years ago, there was no world. It could not be. It only started from somewhere, from where it's expanding. And the knowledge of expansion today shows that every point of this universe is the center of that expansion. So you can't even fix up where that point was, from where the expansion started. It appears the point, the origin of the creation of the world itself expanded. So all points in this world are points of expansion. These are scientific things we see, and we name how long we have been here. But is it quite possible that this is not the way that the world was created, that we create the world? That by having perceptions, that we create the world because we have eyes to see and ears to hear and skin to touch, and we have nose to smell, and all these are different sense perceptions which are creating the world? Is it quite possible that this could be the actual order of things? This question is not new. It has been asked for thousands of years. The philosophers posed it as a simple question. Do you see a tree because the tree is there, or do you make the tree by seeing it? Those who believe that the tree has to be there before you can see it. You can't see something if it is not there. We call them the materialists. they truly believe a material world exists, we just come for a short visit here and go back. Or we die and the whole show ends. Or the idealists who believe, no, if our total knowledge of a tree is totally dependent on our perception of the tree, how can we say a tree has to be there? And they examine something so scientifically that look at one sense, the sense of vision, the sense of sight. How do we see? Purely looking at it from the point of view of the anatomy of the body, looking at the point of view of the functioning of an eye. How does the eye function in terms of medical analysis of its functioning to see something? The current thinking is, if there is a tree and there is no light, you won't see it. That's the first requirement then. That means you cannot see a tree unless there is light falling on it. In total darkness, the tree may be there, you can't see the tree. It doesn't exist for you. So light must fall on the tree to create a tree for us, for our eye to see. Then when light falls, it absorbs colors. Now I'm talking science now. It absorbs all the colors except the green of the leaves and the brown of the trunk and so on. Only those cannot be absorbed by the tree and are reflected back in near parallel light towards us, reflection towards us. And that reflection comes through the eye. And there, of course, it converges with the lenses, partly aqueous humor, partly with the vitreous humor, partly with the lens, and falls upon the retina, which is just a jumble of the nerve endings of the optic nerve. That comes at the back, it has its rods and cones to distinguish between the colors and the shapes of the tree. And the tree is now reflected as a picture, which you can see on the back of the eye as an inverted tree. Because the refraction turns the tree upside down, and there's a picture in our eye of an upside down tree. The optic nerve then comes into operation and then carries all the rods and cones of the nerve endings. They carry this to the part of the brain where the optic center of the brain is. And there the brain picks up and a tree is carried over there. And if you are conscious, you see the tree. Supposing you're not conscious, the tree is there, your eyes are open, the inverted tree is there, the optic nerve is carrying, you don't see the tree. So look at the steps. The steps are, to see a tree, light must be there upon that tree, light must be reflected from the tree, certain colors must be absorbed to make the tree green, and the inverted image of the tree is in the eye at the back, and that is carried by the optic nerve, and that goes into the right place in the brain, and the brain can see if you are conscious. Now let me hypothesize for a moment that supposing our bodies were so built that the retina could create any picture it likes with our own will, with our own programming. Supposing the retina could make a picture of a tree, it would be carried to the brain, to the consciousness, identically as if the tree was there. And you will see the tree exactly where you saw, with no difference at all, because the rest of the procedure is the same. You are not seeing the tree there, you are seeing the tree in the brain. So it will carry the tree to the brain. Supposing you have no power in the retina to create any images, but the power is all in the brain. And the brain creates a tree, it will create a reflection of the inverted tree on the retina. You will see the tree exactly as it is. Supposing brain has no function in it, only consciousness has this function to perform, and because ultimately only consciousness is seeing it. If consciousness creates a tree, the brain will get the same vibration, the tree will come on the retina, you will see the tree exactly there. How are we sure which is the causal direction? Is our consciousness creating the tree, or the tree is creating the conscious experience of the tree? Can we say a definite answer to that? Is there a definite way to say which one is the cause, which one is the effect? A simple answer is, okay, let's see what happens first. Because it looks like if you have to determine cause and effect, what happens first is the cause, the effect comes later. So therefore, let's see whether the tree comes first and then we see it, or we see the tree and then it comes. If there's a time lag between the two, we will find out which is the cause and which is the effect. Supposing our eyes were such, we look and we don't see a tree, then suddenly a tree comes. We'll say, we are making up the tree. It wasn't there, now we can see it. Or, if the tree is placed and then only we say, oh, now the tree has come. It wasn't there earlier. But we put the tree outside to see. Then the cause and effect will be, you need a tree to see it. The trouble is, the seeing of the tree and the tree are simultaneously with not even a nanosecond of gap between the two. There is no time gap at all. Therefore, you are left with the question, open question again, because the time factor does not come in. It's simultaneous. You see the tree, and the tree is there at the same time. So, we have been arguing about it, debating for years. Is there any definite way to find an answer to this question? You can do measurement of the optic nerve, you can do measurement of the brains, you can do waves, study of these at length. The position still remains the same. We don't know which one has come first. But there is a way to find out what is creating what. That is, why don't you go into consciousness itself? Why don't you see what consciousness can do by going into it? Instead of looking at the external experiences of consciousness, why don't you study consciousness itself? And if you study consciousness, a big byproduct will be that you'll be able to study your own self. Because your own self originates from your being a conscious being. So that's why a study of consciousness, a study of your own self within yourself, a study what happens in your head, a study how these sense perceptions operate, can best be studied from going to the site where this is happening. The site is inside us and not outside, obviously. Therefore, whether you pursue with the question, who am I really? Who is myself? What is myself? Where is myself? You can pursue this question. And you will find you cannot find an answer outside of yourself when you're looking for the self. It has to be within you. And within you, it has to be within this body in which you're functioning, and all the experience of self where you make decisions, where you decide what to do, where you think, are all happening inside the body. It cannot be anywhere outside. Running anywhere outside is useless if you're studying where yourself is and who yourself is. The only place where you can study where yourself is, which is the root cause of all your conscious experiences, is within yourself. If you want to find where it is within yourself, start with the body. Where could it be within this body? Could it be your hands and fingernails or toes or something? That's not where you think from at all. That's not where you feel you are. Therefore, you reject the extremities. You keep moving and you find whatever has to be found must be within this simple area of your head. You can look down upon the heart, look down upon all the different organs functioning. You can experience them, feel them, how they are all working autonomously to sustain you, to sustain your life. But when you say, where are you doing it from? It all boils down to somewhere in the head. You can narrow it down further by closing your eyes so that you are not distracted. Closing your ears, you are not distracted. And look within and say, where am I? And you will find you've always been somewhere in the center of this head, behind the eyes, from where you operate. Anybody can do it. It doesn't take long to close your eyes and say, where am I thinking from? Where am I? If I am not my body. Once you come to that point, you have begun a journey toward discovering yourself. Very good starting point. The difficulty is, we don't go there. I keep on reminding my friends who are seeking the truth about themselves, that please go to the starting point. Don't waste your time elsewhere. Other things are good if they tell you about the starting point. Read books, but do not think that the books will give you truth. Books do not contain the truth. Books contain a description of experiences. Books contain a theory of different things. You can read all your life, all the books, and get no knowledge of where you're operating from. You read books for information, but do not think that the books will give you any truth or give you knowledge of yourself. You can read all the books of the world and they will not give you anything, scriptures included. These are all things for giving us information on how to proceed. Ultimately, you must come back to the starting point. The starting point is behind the eyes, in the center of your head. You can close your eyes any time and feel that's where you are when you are awake. Being awake in the physical body is a great experience. It gives you the power of free will. It gives you the choice to sit there or not to sit there. It gives you a choice to meditate or not to meditate. You don't get this when you're sleeping. You can't get this in a dream. You can't get this in astral plane. You can't get this in any heaven. But you can only get it when you're in a human body in the wakeful state. Imagine, I am not only saying the human body is a great form of life in which you can do this. I am saying within the human body, the wakeful state is the only state where you can really find the truth about your own self. Take advantage of this. When you are awake in the physical body, close your eyes. You can feel, you have a choice now. You are using your choice-making capacity, the free will, to determine where are you. Find where you are. See what is stopping you from being there. See what kind of thoughts come and drag you out. It won't take you very long to find out the thoughts that are dragging you out are all the attachments you have created to people and things. We have created attachment to our houses, to our cars, to our property, to people, to our relatives, to those we love outside as physical beings. We have put all our attention on them. When we try to sit inside for a little while, thoughts run out to all these. We can't even sit at our own place where we are supposed to be in the wakeful state. It's an irony that we are already there at the starting point of our spiritual journey and we can't stay there because of the attachments we have created outside. And outside, which by all means, by every measurement is going to be temporary. Whether they are really temporary or not, whether we are creating them or not, doesn't matter. Even if they are real, in this physical body, from where we are having attachment to them, this physical body will die, inevitably die. We have never seen anybody living in immortal body here. This physical body must die. So the experience that we are having outside and all the relationships we are creating outside, all the desires and attachments we are creating outside are temporary. In every case, are we going to let these destroy our own journey into our discovery of our own self? But they are destroying. You can try it out. When you try and sit behind the eyes, these thoughts take you out, one after the other. They pull you. So we know what the problem is. The problem is we have too many attachments and desires and fixed ourselves outside so that they pull us out when we try to be within our own self, right at the seat from where our spiritual journey and discovery of who we are will start. It takes time. It takes time to stay there and hold on to something that will make us stay there. Now, that is a very big key to the point I'm going to make. The most important key. What is it that can hold you inside and prevent you from having your mind run all the time outside? What can you do to have something there inside which can hold you tight there so that you for a moment forget what the relationships outside are and forget what is happening to the world of matter and people outside? What can be so powerful that could hold you there and not let you go out? I'll give you a little example. When a little girl in a house plays with her dolls are all everything for her. She loves her dolls. They are real for her. She sleeps with the dolls. If you take one doll away, she cries. Her attachment with the dolls is so great. Then she gets adulthood and she falls in love with an actual person. The dolls are all stored up in a box. What happened? What happened to the attachment to the dolls? A true love that came and an adult was able to remove the attachments from all these dolls. If you can find true love with somebody behind the eyes inside, it will quickly make you forget all the attachments outside. Where can you find that true love? A love that is so powerful that can pull you there. It's not easy to find this. We know people have love. We know everybody has love in their hearts. But where can you find this kind of pure love that is so powerful, that can hold you there, and then for that moment you forget what is outside? It's only a human being whose love is so pure, whose love is so unconditional, whose love is so overpowering, whose love is so overwhelming, that if his image is there, we will forget what is outside. We call such a human being a perfect living master. We call him a perfect living master because such a human being does not live with the attachments of the world here. He lives in pure love of consciousness itself, a power that belongs to consciousness and to the soul and is not delegated to the mind or the body or the senses. Therefore, when such a person we come across in our life, the love that we experience from such a person, over time we find it is so unconditional, it is so pure, that there is nothing that can match it. And when we are able to establish that person's image, that person's experience in our head, at the point behind the eyes, what we call the third eye center, and that image comes and holds us, it makes us forget about the attachment outside. There's nothing more powerful than that which can hold us there. There we have right now a good justification for the role of a perfect living master in our spiritual journey. You can try as hard as you like without this. What will you be doing? Struggling with your mind, struggling with effort. And you can put all the effort in the world, you're putting mental effort. You can discover the functioning of the mind, you can go as far as the mind can go. You cannot find your true self that way. If you want to find your true self, go with the path of love, which arises from above the mind, and find somebody who has that unconditional love, which you can experience personally, and you can place that being inside you, either by the force of continuous remembrance, by the force of meditation, by the force of the love itself, by any means. When that form is inside, that's a sure way to forget for that moment the attachment that pull us out into this world. There's no greater shortcut I can think of to stabilize yourself at the starting point of a spiritual path. What does a perfect living master do? Does he teach us how to meditate? Not necessary. You can read in the books. I find all the teaching of all the masters I have met are all given in the books. I can read about them, and I can go to any teacher and find out about it. That's not the role of a perfect living master. The perfect living master is to pull our soul, which is not mind, which is not body, to pull our soul with the power of unconditional love of the soul. It's a relationship between a soul and a soul. It's not a relationship between a body and a body at all. Therefore, when we have the experience of the unconditional love of a perfect living master inside, and we can hold it, it overcomes the distractions of the mind, and the journey can start. Is that all a perfect living master can do for us, to place us at the start of the journey? Not at all. A perfect living master is not only one who has that power of unconditional love, he is one who operates from all levels of consciousness, including our true home, at all times. Not sometimes. Not that he is a very enlightened person who sometimes can meditate and go to higher levels. That's not the definition of a perfect living master. A perfect living master I am speaking of is one while he is in a body like ourselves, is continuously available to us from all levels, is continuously aware of all levels himself, and continuously operating from all levels himself, so that he is in touch with our true home while he's talking to us in the physical plane here. What is the advantage of that? He is a guide who knows the whole route while he is here. He is not looking up a map to say where we'll go next. He is the map. He is taking us on something that he is living in right there at that time. Therefore, do not underestimate a perfect living master. It's not just a human being teaching us something. In fact, he's not a teacher. Teaching is just to satisfy our mind. If he teaches, a mind likes to be taught. It's not bad. Our mind wants to learn. He says, okay, I'll teach you. He's not come for teaching. Whether you learn his teaching or not is not even material. He says, meditate in this particular way. Mind loves that. He's not come to teach us even meditation. He's not come to tell us meditate. He's come to pull us with the power of love and take us back to home, because he is constantly in touch with that true home. And he brings us back stage by stage, never leaving us. He doesn't say, there is a route, now you take it, I've given you the route. Many teachers do that. He's not a teacher. He's a friend. He's a lover. He's a beloved. He's the one who accompanies us throughout till our own totality, where we discover that he and we are no different, because all we are one. This oneness that we discover of consciousness is only in our true home, where we discover that only one consciousness is really the truth. Only one consciousness is the reality. And all else is created by that one consciousness, including the experience of the so many. You're sitting here, or sitting around the universe, or in different forms of life. It's all arising from one consciousness. And this one consciousness, that individual, the perfect living master who is a human being like us, he is constantly aware of that oneness. He is living in that oneness. And is living in the different forms of experiences that have been created around that oneness. Therefore, it's the most wonderful journey to have to our true home in the company, pleasant, friendly company of somebody who knows. It's such a wonderful journey. We make it a journey. At the end, we discover there was no journey. And that's a very big surprise when we get there was no journey. It was just awakening to different levels of experiences. Ultimately, we awaken to what was the real, find, wow, what kind of dreams within dreams within dreams we have had. These are like dreams within dreams. We have created an experience of reality by creating dreams. It's amazing how we have done it. The power of consciousness was so really powerful that we could dream and make it real. Even now here, when we go to sleep and are unaware of this body, unaware of the wakeful state, we take the dream as real. We don't think the dream is a dream till we wake up. When we wake up, it becomes a dream. When we are in the dream, it's real. Sometimes, in a dream, we say to ourselves and to others, it's a dream. Now imagine if we are dreaming and somehow feel it's a dream. We tell everybody, come on, we'll tell you, it's a dream. And when we wake up, we don't call anybody to tell them it was a dream. Did we really know it's a dream? We spoke the truth. We spoke the truth in the dream. When we said it's a dream, it was the truth. But we didn't know it. We were saying something without the real awareness of it. If we were aware, we would know that those people we are telling it's a dream don't exist. When we wake up, they're gone. In this life, we speak the truth all the time without knowing it. We know this is not the reality. We know there's a spiritual path inside, but we take this as real. We do not know really that the truth is somewhere else. We take any level of creation as the reality. Right now, this physical experiences are only reality. We don't have any experience of any other level. Not even dreams are real now. Only the wakeful state is real. When we dream, the dream only is real. When we go to higher level of consciousness, that alone is real. This becomes the dream. Any level of conscious experience that we have, no matter how high, is the only reality. But we can go higher, and that becomes a dream. Ultimately, what then is ultimate reality? Can we really say what is ultimate reality? And no dream of any kind, no creation of any kind. The ultimate reality is our own totality of consciousness that creates dreams. When we say our true home, we describe Sachkhand, our true home, also a dream. Why? Because we create it. We create it permanently. It's forever. Therefore we say it must be real. But the creation of what is called forever itself is a creation and a dream. Therefore, the ultimate self, the ultimate totality of consciousness, the real self, is the only reality. And is not the only reality in our true home. It's the only reality here too. Everything else is being created around that self. The self, the experiencer, is the only reality. All experience is created and made into a reality. We don't want to experience just shadows. We don't want to just go see movies all our life. Therefore, we make reality. We make it so real that we cut off any other awareness of reality so that this alone becomes real. You can't go to sleep and have a dream and make it real if you're also aware of the wakeful state. It'll become a daydream and will become never real. You have to cut off the experience of something more real in order to make the less real reality. And that's what we are doing all the time, at every level. Whether it's a dream state or wakeful state or a higher astral state or a causal state or even the true state, the only reality is the experiencer, our true self. If we want to pursue this quest, and do you know where this comes from? Why do we want to pursue this? I get letters from people. We are very happy, we are enjoying our life, and we are very in a good shape. I made a lot of money and I have got a nice house and all that. Why should I follow spiritual path? My answer is no, enjoy yourself. Your time is not yet. But one day you will find your time is there. In one case, of course, a man came to me personally and he said he's having good time and he's wonderful. He's got a house, he's got money and he's got everything. Why should he meditate? I said, don't. Go and enjoy your house, go enjoy your riches. Next week he came back and he said, I'm miserable. My wife ran away, and all these things happened and I'm disappointed, I am in depression. Same man. A time must come when we feel this is not our place. We've had enough of it. If that time has not come, we are not interested in the spiritual path. If we are still happy in the show that's going on, and if we are enjoying it, go on enjoying. Nobody is stopping you. I have not come to stop people from enjoying their life. I have come to tell them, if you feel that this has had enough, you've had enough of it. We don't want any more. We know this is not our place. We want to go back to a true home. When that feeling is there, then there's a spiritual path for you. Then I can tell you where to go. Go within yourself. The route is there. Find a perfect living master. Experience the true love and meditate inside your head and go. A simple recipe. Not so simple. Where will you find a perfect living master? You can't find one. And the biggest problem, you can't find one. My master told me once, every time there's a perfect living master in a human form in this body, at least 11 or 12 fake masters all around him. Even more impressive than the real one. Because they can make claims. They can show miracles. The poor real perfect master is living like ordinary people. And all he's doing is pulling his disciples by his love. He's not doing anything to enhance anything around here in this show. He's doing something secretly in the hearts of his disciples who are being pulled by his unconditional love and are feeling it, experiencing it, and making advance with it. And they can't even share with other people what's going on with them. Because they say, well, that master did this master did this. Does your master do it? There was a interesting yogi in India. He said that when masters tell you something, they don't say lose your common sense. Please use your common sense when dealing with masters. A good tip he gave. For example, he said one disciple of another master from Bangalore, from somewhere in India, came to me. He said, you know, our master is so powerful. If he tells me jump from the roof of the house, I will jump. I have so much faith in him. Can any of your disciples do it? And this yogi said, I told him, no, my disciples won't do it. If I tell them, jump from the roof of this house, my disciple will say, Master, you jump first. Then we'll follow you. So don't lose your common sense when you're evaluating where you are. After all, the spiritual path is a path of the spirit. It's a path of your souls. It's not an external thing. It's not something that you can judge from outside things. It's an internal thing. What's happening to you internally? What's happening to your soul? If you are on a spiritual journey, you are on a journey to discover your soul and go to your true home, where the expansion of your soul takes place to totality, and you discover the oneness of the origin of all experiences. This is possible. You cannot find a perfect living master, but you can be found by a perfect living master. That's one good feature. That if you cannot find a perfect living master because it's too ordinary compared to fake masters, you can at least be found by a perfect living master. So what is the recipe for that? Seek inside your heart. If you are a seeker, a perfect living master will come into your life somehow or the other, by coincidence, by circumstance, by some means. He'll appear in your life, and gradually you will discover that he is not an ordinary person like he looks like. He has something else. Gradually you will discover that what is pulling you is not with his teaching, but with his love. And ultimately you'll find that's the love that is the pathway to your own true home, which is leading you to. And all other things will be left behind, and love will take you back home. I am sure you are all seekers sitting here. Many of you have perfect living masters in your life. I congratulate all of you. I am very happy that I get a chance to talk to you from time to time. And we are going to meet once a month. Even the dates have been set in advance this year, in 2015. If you want, you can find the dates. And I would like to take this opportunity to welcome back an old friend of the Institute for the Study of Human Awareness, Isha, who organizes these events. It's a non-profit organization, and somebody who took a very active part in this and had to be confined to taking care of her husband for many years and could not come here, is present amongst us today, and she is sitting right here. Joyce Grady. Welcome, Joyce. Finally, people have been again asking me that you have to be on a vegetarian diet for this. What has diet to do with spirituality? And I would like to just say a few things about this diet. That what is diet to do with it? Actually, nothing. Diet is for the body. It's for the physical nutrition of the body. How are we going to connect our souls with the diet? I have never thought that what kind of food you eat is going to take your soul anywhere high. I don't think there is any connection. In fact, I met a Zen group in Japan, and they told me the only way to get spiritual enlightenment is to eat a particular kind of rice. And they brought the rice to me. Eat the rice and your soul goes up. I can't believe this thing that food which is nutrition for the body has any impact on the soul. And yet I recommend that go on a vegetarian diet and as simple and light a diet as possible. Why am I saying this? Not because that the diet creates enlightenment. I am saying this that in order to meditate and put your attention here behind the eyes, diet is a factor. Diet is a factor if you want to put your attention at the third eye center behind the eyes. Because what we need in putting our attention behind the eyes is not only the fixing of attention there, but concentrating our attention. We have to concentrate our attention in order to bring the other distracted part of the attention back to that point. It is the concentration of attention that requires care of the diet, because our diet is based upon extinguishing of life. We don't live on stones and bricks. We don't eat those. We eat living things. Even vegetables are living things. Even meat is living things. We are destroying life in order to survive. It's not we alone doing it. All living species are doing it. If you look at the world, one big fish is eating small fish, big animals eating small animals, we are eating everything. So we are all extinguishing life to survive and be in the body living. Therefore, extinguishing life in order to survive is natural for us. But when we extinguish life of a degree of consciousness that is different, it has different impact on our power of concentration of attention. If you kill a man and come and want to read a book that you've been reading every day, you had 1 minute per page of reading speed, you'll take 5 minutes on the same page just because you killed a man. It has nothing to do with the book, nothing to do with your reading. What happened? Your power to concentrate your attention on the book has been deteriorated, degraded by that event. The subconscious knowledge that a human being was killed has affected your power to concentrate your attention. If you kill an animal, the power degraded is less and the recovery takes place faster. If you eat a vegetable, even then it's degraded, but to such a low degree that it recovers fast. These have been observed. This power of extinguishing life of different orders, of the degree of awareness of those different forms of life, and their effect on our power to concentrate attention has been demonstrated. And therefore I say, to be good meditators, if you follow the path of meditation and want to concentrate your attention behind the eyes, it's useful if you follow a vegetarian diet which is light. Supposing somebody says, I'm a vegetarian but I eat not a good lump of it, it's not good either. I mean, too much food is not good either. We should eat less food. And supposing you eat food but always angry, it's not good either. It's not that one little factor that what you are vegetarian, therefore you become spiritual. That's not true. It is a means of improving the chances of your success in meditation, and therefore I recommend that you should follow vegetarian diet. Now people ask me, but your vegetarian diet, I don't know where you get your protein from. When I first came to America at Harvard University, they said you will die in a year by not having enough protein in the food. I don't know, I have been waiting for that moment of dying for 88 years. Hasn't happened yet. And I'm still vegetarian. I've always been vegetarian all my life. And I don't think that the protein is deficient in vegetarian things. But there are different forms of proteins that substitute for meats also. There's so many now different forms of meat substitutes that have come up. And I want to tell you, once again, I want to introduce my friends who are now making meat substitutes, which I joined with them in the beginning when I came here. I worked with them. And I know that very good, healthy meat substitutes are possible which are vegetarian. And they do not have any meat, and they do not have any of the toxins that many meats contain. So they are a better version of the protein. And I don't know if those people are here. If they are here, the miracle food people, will you please rise so people can see you? Those, nobody can miss them, they're so heavy and they're big people. These people are today manufacturing miracle foods, which is just a meat substitute. And those who are interested in the equivalent of the meats in protein and so on, you can try the products. There are many other products too. I'm not saying that I am only saying you just take their products. There are other products in the market too. But those who are interested can contact them and find out the meat substitutes that are available. Don't think that you have to starve yourself of protein in order to be a vegetarian. So I just wanted to introduce this. Welcome, friends. Thank you very much. Well, we'll have a break, and I'll have some interviews for those who have never had an interview with me. And after the break, I'll come and see you again. Thank you.